After Republicans got absolutely embarrassed in New York's 3rd, Republicans' majority in the House continues to get slimmer by the day. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video. Today, it is time to talk about the chaos that is unfolding within the Republican Party, because everyone, this was absolutely pathetic what happened last night. For those that don't know, the special election replaced George Santos. You know, the Republican that Republicans expelled in the House of Representatives. Yeah, that George Santos. The special election replaced him happened last night. And it was an embarrassment. Republicans got absolutely crushed. I mean, look at this. They lost by around 8 points. And sure, there's still some votes outstanding. This could potentially be within 7. Either way, Republicans got walloped in a special election that could have been won, but they dropped the ball so badly that they got absolutely crushed. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $1 a month, you can join Real American. This is the best way to support the daily content that we all know and love. So I hope and recommend you join the channel today. Now, before I get into New York's 3rd, which is just an embarrassment and everyone's talking about it, I do want to talk about the specials that did happen for the state legislature. Yes, there were some other ones that did happen for like Georgia, New York, funny enough, Oklahoma, and Pennsylvania. So, Democrats did have an overperformance in 2 of the 5, Oklahoma and PA, quite a bit. But on the flip side, look at the Republicans. They overperformed in Georgia by 31 and 41 points. In New York, and I believe this was a Brooklyn seat, it was a 20-point overperformance. Yes, Democrats still won, but you look at some of these areas and Republicans are doing very good in Georgia and New York. And hell, even this pathetic result is technically an overperformance for Republicans in this district. Trump won or lost it by 8.5. So either way, there were some positives last night, but it was just an absolute beatdown in Pennsylvania and Oklahoma. Like, what's happening in Oklahoma? Pennsylvania, what happened was Republicans are not using early voting. And I do want to touch upon this before we get into New York's 3rd. We have to embrace early voting. Where the hell is the RNC with its early voting operation? Where? The Pennsylvania race was a beatdown because Democrats are voting exclusively by mail. They got so many mail-in votes, and it was really bad weather. So that's why Republicans, this margin is inflated, got killed here. But you notice the state parties that have been very solid for the past couple of years, Georgia and even New York, they had their overperformance. The PA Republican Party, well, we know about them. They're not competent. But the competent ones are actually having big overperformances. Yes, I consider New York to be a good Republican Party despite this, which I guess we could finally talk about. I just wanted to give some time to these specials down ballot, because it is fascinating the Republicans did 40 and 30 points better in some of them. Like, these are some massive swings. No one's talking about these 3. Everyone is talking about these 2, which, why? I have no clue, but either way, Republicans did have some positives last night, I guess, but these are just whatever. This is what everyone cared about, and Republicans, they got crushed. Now, like I said, this is technically an overperformance by Mazi Pilip, the quote-unquote Republican. Trump lost the seat by around 8.5 to 9 points. So, I mean, she did better than Trump, but, yeah. She did worse than Robert Zimmerman, which this probably will change because there's still some votes outstanding. But, yeah. It was an absolute beatdown by the Democrats. Now, we gotta explain why this happened. All right, because there are so many people taking the wrong message from this. They're taking the wrong explanations. They're blaming MAGA for this. They blame Trump for it. It's like, wait, you're gonna blame Trump for a race that he had zero involvement in? Zero. You're gonna blame him? Listen, Trump didn't say a damn word about this race. He didn't. He stayed completely out of it. Like everyone hopes for. All these people on Twitter, they beg for Trump to stay out of some of these races. And he did. And Mazi Pilip did only slightly better than Trump. Despite being the electable candidate, despite being the moderate. So, the first reason why she did so bad is she's just a Democrat. I'm not even kidding. She's a registered Democrat that ran as a Republican. Yeah, she's registered to the Democrat Party, but she ran as the Republican? Does no one see a problem with that? I mean, you went from George Santos, which you could say what you will about him. They screwed him. All right? They gave him no trial, no jury, nothing. They just decided, nope, you're guilty. You're gone. He had one of the best voting records of any congressman. You went from that to Mazi Pilip, who's just a Democrat? That's one of the biggest reasons why Republicans got crushed. Listen, it's one thing to be more moderate, like Brian Fitzpatrick or Michael Lawler. I'm fine with someone like Fitzpatrick. Lawler, he's hit or miss with me, all right? Not this. I mean, when Pilip is basically to the left of Tom Suozzi, yeah. There were some circumstances where it seemed like Tom Suozzi, the Democrat, was more moderate. It's just unfreaking believable. So the number one reason that she did lose was, we did lose is because of her. She was just an atrocious candidate. She was just a liberal running as a Republican for no reason. She was a lazy campaigner. I mean, her entire campaign before like a week ago was, I served in the IDF. Vote for me. Yes, that was her entire campaign. She didn't talk about crime or immigration until 1 week ago. Gee, I wonder why you lost. You ran as the diversity candidate Republicans have always wanted. Who would have thought that, hey, you can't just run on being an immigrant from Ethiopia that served in the Israeli military. I'm the only person you could vote for. Who would have thought running on crap like that doesn't get people to vote for you? Who would have thought? I mean, it's just common sense. She didn't campaign, barely I should say. She can't fundraise worth a damn. She's so liberal that who frickin' cares who wins this? I mean, Tom Suozzi has a history of being a more moderate Democrat, especially on stuff like immigration. That's what he ran on. He ran as a moderate on immigration and crime. Well, Mazi Pilip ran on being a diversity candidate. I'm just so baffled at how Republicans lost this race. This was the number one reason. And number two, Tom Suozzi is just a very strong recruit. I mean, he represented this seat and was one of the biggest overperformers in 2020, in 2018, and 2016. He was a very big overperformer in this same district. So despite that, though, he actually did worse than Biden. When he had virtually everything going for him. You had the George Santos scandal. You had Republicans being morons and picking this lady. You had virtually no competition because she was not doing a single event. She was only spending on ads. Yet, somehow, you did worse than Biden? That's the one thing a lot of people are just not talking about. Yes, Tom Suozzi won by quite a bit. Problem is, this was still an underperformance by the Democrats. By around a point. Maybe it's going to be 2. That might be a problem for Dems that they're not going to talk about. They're not going to want to admit. They're just going to say, well, we won the seat by 8. It's over. We're taking back the House. We are going to have a blue wave. You had everything going for you. All right? And despite that, despite so many Republicans not voting, they just did not vote. Despite all of that, she did better than Trump. Slightly. Only because this part of the country is becoming more Republican. That's the only reason she did slightly better. You could have picked so many candidates and you picked her. You could have picked a actual moderate, some state legislator from this region that has some name ID, that's well-liked enough, that has some history of doing stuff. You could have picked that. But you went with the quote-unquote diversity candidate because you wanted to fill a couple boxes. The Republican Party should be ashamed of themselves for expelling George Santos and now saying, well, we made a big mistake. Yeah, no shit. You removed one of your own for this. And now Democrats are one step closer to a majority. You could have just said, George Santos may have done some bad stuff, but let him get primaried out. Or hell, he said he wasn't going to run again. So why the hell would you expel him? When Democrats did far worse stuff, far more egregious. Either way, this should be a warning to Republicans. Just because a candidate is moderate or fills all the boxes of being the IDF paratrooper, being from Ethiopia, being Jewish, being an immigrant, just because she fills a bunch of boxes doesn't mean squat. If she doesn't campaign, and this goes for everyone, I mean, just because you're a moderate does not mean you're electable. Yes, some circumstances that does matter. Brian Fitzpatrick, someone like Michael Lawler. Yeah, they have to be a bit more moderate. But those two campaigned their asses off. She did nothing. She's just a liberal to the left of Brian Fitzpatrick even. Way to the left even. Didn't do a damn thing and got crushed. So let's hope Republicans finally learn a lesson that, hey, maybe we shouldn't try the same crap. And by the way, this was the establishment's doing. You cannot blame Trump for it. The establishment, they got to pick their candidate. There wasn't a primary. Trump stayed out of it. They spent a bunch of money. It was their campaign. Didn't go so well. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below. Subscribe. Share with your friends. Hit that little bell. Follow the social media accounts in the description down below. And of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much. Godspeed to all of you.